a guy discovered an ancient tomb, and after resting in it, he gained divine power. One evening, after a date, Kyle walks the girl to her car. Later, he's doing homework when he suddenly hears terrifying sounds outside. After looking around, he encounters Jared, a dealer's assistant to whom Kyle owes money. Jared demands that Kyle pay up, or he'll have serious problems. Eager to pay off his debt to Marcus as soon as possible, Kyle starts working as a janitor. His first client is a mysterious elderly woman who asks him to clean out the basement. Down there, Kyle not only finds trash but also a strange coffin. The old woman urges him to take it to the dump and either bury or burn it, warning him not to use the creepy thing. Ignoring her advice and hoping to make some quick cash, Kyle decides to sell the coffin. After taking a few photos, he posts an ad and starts cleaning the wooden box. Inside, he discovers an eerie mechanism, resembling a twisted music box. The next morning, Kyle heads to the library to meet his friend and history expert. Platt tells him that Wolfgang von Tristan, a sadistic inventor, built torture devices. A dark version of Leonardo da Vinci, von Tristan became known as the Devil's Mechanic. In his later years, the scientist became obsessed with death and the afterlife. Isolating himself from the world, he constructed a unique machine, a mechanical coffin designed to experience death without risk. Von Tristan called it the Spirit Machine, but it was never found after his death. By comparing photos in a book, Kyle realizes that the coffin in his garage is the very same Spirit Machine. This 15th century invention could be worth millions to collectors, which excites Kyle, as selling it would allow him to pay off his debts. When he returns home, Kyle learns that Sutton has fully restored the mechanism by replacing its broken parts. After explaining the device's purpose, Kyle suggests they test it. Both are too scared to use the coffin on themselves, so they decide to try it on someone less valuable. Sutton's goldfish becomes their test subject. They place the aquarium inside the coffin, use the key, and start the Spirit Machine. They watch as the fish dies, and once the eerie music stops, the fish miraculously comes back to life. The guys are shocked and realize their discovery works. They decide to tell Platt about it. Later, Kyle's girlfriend, Julie, arrives to visit him. She's missed him and wants to spend time together, but she's annoyed by the constant presence of their bothersome neighbor. Sensing someone is outside the door, Julie suggests renting a separate house, but Kyle can't afford the extra expense. He enjoys living with his kind and helpful friend, who not only helps with studies but also contributes to the rent. That evening, Platt comes over to see the Spirit Machine and try it out. Despite their curiosity, the friends are hesitant to experiment and put themselves at risk first, so Kyle decides to be the first to lie in the coffin. Sutton records the whole thing on camera, making sure not to miss any detail. Once Kyle is in the coffin, Platt turns the key 3 times, believing that should be enough for about a minute, during which Kyle will be dead. As soon as the mechanism activates, Kyle finds himself in the spirit world. He's shocked by the experience and doesn't understand how it's possible. Platt sees his friend dead and starts to panic, but Sutton suggests they stay calm and wait for the music to stop. When it does, Kyle comes back to life and admits it was an amazing experience, one they should all try. Platt is still scared, but curiosity forces him to take the risk. He lies in the coffin second, and the friends activate the device for 1 minute so he can experience the incredible sensations. After dying and temporarily entering the spirit world, Platt takes a walk through the night city. He doesn't know how to make the most of his new ability, so he just wanders aimlessly. On a railway track, he sees a train that could have run him over if he had a body. The train rushes past the frightened Platt, and he returns to his body, still in mild shock. Being the smartest of the 3, Platt realizes that what they're experiencing are near-death experiences. While in the coffin, they come close to death's threshold but don't cross it, allowing them to return to their bodies. Inspired by his friend's stories and experiences, Sutton asks for help getting into the coffin. Platt thinks it's a stupid and dangerous idea, but the guy in the wheelchair ignores his warnings. Hoping to figure out whether this is a dream or reality, Kyle writes a note and leaves it by the aquarium, asking Sutton to read it when he enters the spirit world and tell him what it says. Once Sutton is in the spirit world, he's pleasantly surprised to find that he can walk again. Mike controls the process but has to step away as his girlfriend arrives to visit. Trusting Platt to watch over Sutton, Mike meets Julie and realizes she has uncovered his financial scams. He had secretly been taking money from her credit card, leading to a huge argument between them. As Sutton, now a spirit, watches them unnoticed, he follows Julie to her car. Feeling a connection to her, he dreams of touching her face, but as the music stops, his spirit returns to his body. The friends ask Sutton to tell them about the contents of the note, but he ignores it. To prove that it wasn't just a dream, he reveals Mike's financial scams and how Julie kicked Platt's moped. Later, the friends discuss what happened and realize that not only could they be paid handsomely for such a find, but they could also be killed to get their hands on the spirit machine. Platt begs them not to touch the coffin or use it until he's conducted some research. He feels he must understand why they enter the spirit world and how the device works. Meanwhile, Sutton decides to test if he can walk. The guy in the wheelchair briefly gets up but falls immediately, which deeply frustrates him. Later, Platt returns to the library to begin studying the device. On the doorstep, he notices a homeless person and decides to carefully avoid him. At one point, Platt hears movement behind him and turns around, speechless. To his horror, it's not a homeless person, but death itself, appearing as Wolfgang von Tristan's mechanical corpse. Terrified, Platt rushes into the building and sees that the ghost chasing him has vanished. Meanwhile, the spirit of von Tristan appears to Kyle, but he doesn't think much of it. Later, Julie calls Kyle, suggesting they take a break from their relationship to figure things out and decide whether they should continue seeing each other. Trying not to fall into depression, Kyle decides to smoke, but realizes that forbidden substances don't bring him as much pleasure as the coffin, which allows him to enter the spirit world. At the same time, Kyle decides to use the coffin again without telling anyone. After turning the key a few times for extra time, he enters the spirit world and takes a walk through the night city. Near a closing store, he decides to follow its owner. This allows him to remain unnoticed and learn the safe code, alarm code, and entry door code, which could make him the perfect criminal. Waking up in his body, Kyle quickly prepares and heads out to commit the robbery. Using the codes, he easily sneaks inside without drawing attention from the police, stealing all the money and a revolver. Afterward, Kyle goes to Marcus to settle his drug debts and buy something stronger. Upon arriving at the trailer, he notices his car acting strangely, with the headlights and wipers turning on. Kyle panics, thinking that the spirits have started to haunt him, but it turns out to be a cruel prank by Marcus. The drug dealer offers Kyle some white powder, but he firmly refuses. Returning to his car, Kyle decides to smoke again but realizes it no longer gives him the same satisfaction as before. Furthermore, the constant smoking is damaging his health and teeth. At the same time, Sutton decides to use the spirit machine as well. In the afterlife, Sutton's ghost heads to Julie's apartment. Secretly desiring his friend's girlfriend, Sutton sneaks into her place and watches her sleep. At one point, he kisses her, then returns to his own body. Julie feels a touch on her lips and wakes up, confused about what happened. Back in his body, Sutton trains hard and notices Kyle coming home, hiding the drugs and revolver under his bed. While studying the mad scientist's biography and his invention, Platt realizes that the devil is hidden in the music. Continuing his research in the library and online, he notices that he's bleeding. The next morning, he calls Kyle to inform him that the secret of the coffin lies in the music, and its interval was banned by medieval churches because it was considered satanic. To continue his research, Platt needs to record the sound coming from the coffin and analyze it. He once again reminds the group that playing with the spirit machine is dangerous and asks them not to touch it until he arrives. In the evening, Platt visits his friends and checks on their well-being. Sutton and Kyle deny any changes in their behavior and don't mention their hallucinations. Platt notices that his friends are becoming obsessed with the coffin and its newfound power, but he begs them to resist the temptation. At one point, Platt decides to record the sound, but Kyle lies down in the coffin to return to the spirit world. He doesn't let his friend stop him and shows aggression. Once back in the afterlife, Kyle heads to Marcus. He sees that the drug dealer is shamelessly abusing his position. One of the customers lets Marcus take his girlfriend by force for the white powder, which disgusts Kyle. Wanting to get revenge on Marcus and his accomplice, Kyle tracks down Jared to find out where they're hiding the drugs. Upon returning to the living world, Kyle confesses that he was at the gates of heaven and enjoys dangerous journeys. Platt is less optimistic, noticing the first horrific consequences of their curiosity. During another session, Sutton's fish dies, but he doesn't care. Sutton is eager to get into the coffin again and be a spirit, even if just for a few minutes. He heads to the afterlife and decides to visit the gym where Julie trains. He watches her not only in the ring but also in the shower, taking advantage of her being unaware. At that moment, Julie receives a call from Kyle, asking to meet and try to make up. This triggers a fit of anger in Sutton, and he punches the box, discovering his newfound strength. When he returns to his body, Sutton lies to his friends, telling them he was at the movies. Platt and Kyle tease him, noticing that he's excited and clearly lying. At night, Platt returns to the library to study the music coming from the coffin. Analyzing the recording, he discovers an inaudible sound at low frequencies. This sound has incredible power and can affect living organisms. It likely killed Sutton's fish and is now doing the same to a fly. Platt realizes that one sound is not enough and that the coffin hides another secret, which is what allows it to affect people. The next morning, Kyle meets Julie at a cafe to tell her he's paid off the debt on her credit card. He tries to make amends, but Julie is unsettled by his aggressive attitude and the changes in his behavior. At the same time, Platt calls him to reveal that the spirit machine is a huge scam. It doesn't allow you to leave your body but simply kills your brain. While Kyle talks to Platt, Julie leaves, unwilling to continue the conversation. Upset by this, Kyle heads to the forbidden substance storage and steals its contents. Marcus and Jared find out the powder is missing and realize they're in big trouble, as they have no idea who could have stolen from them. Platt continues studying the spirit machine and begins to figure out how it affects the human body. Using a live stream camera, he spots a needle mark on the back of the neck, left by the tomb machine. At that moment, the spirit of death appears to him, continuing to haunt him. He realizes that his curiosity has led to tragic consequences and that this is just the beginning of the horror to come. Fearing the image of Von Tristan, Platt hides under the table, but then realizes it won't help. He decides to write Kyle a letter, explaining the threat of the tomb. At that moment, death attacks him again, forcing him to flee. As he runs, the malevolent spirit pushes him down the stairs, and he dies from his injuries. That evening, Kyle and Sutton can't wait for Platt and decide to continue their forbidden experiments with the tomb. Kyle suspects that their friend was right, and the spirit machine is killing them. But he still takes the risk and lies down in the tomb to travel to the afterlife. Now a spirit, Kyle returns to Marcus's trailer and realizes that he and his accomplice had decided to make low-quality white powder to make money off its sale. Watching one of their clients, Kyle sees the deadly result but is powerless to stop it. Meanwhile, Sutton leaves his friend behind and heads to Julie. He plans to expose Kyle and gives her a gift, where Kyle is hiding the forbidden substances. Sutton tells her Kyle will never be a good person and then confesses his love. Julie rejects him, not because he's in a wheelchair, but because she sees him as a friend. The rejection makes Sutton angry, and he demonstrates the strength the ancient tomb has given him. The spirit journey has made him physically stronger, and he can walk again. Despite his persistence, Julie firmly rejects Sutton, as she loves Kyle and only wants to be with him. After returning to his body, Kyle heads to one of Marcus's clients' houses, where he discovers the man's corpse. Seeking revenge on the dishonest drug dealer, Kyle writes the trailer's license plate number in the victim's blood. When he gets home, Kyle is haunted by hallucinations and the spirit of death that continues to pursue him. Soon, the police arrive to inform him of Platt's death. Before the tragedy, Platt had written a letter but never sent it. In the letter, his friend urged Kyle to destroy the tomb, as it was the only way to stop the madness they had been dragged into. Back at home, Kyle decides to chop up the spirit machine with an axe, but Sutton strongly disagrees. He attacks his friend, beating him savagely, and admits he wants to be with Julie, regardless of her feelings. Using the spirit machine, Sutton visits Julie. The invisible spirit of Sutton distracts Julie with noises from the bathroom, then slips a sleeping pill into her milk, making her unable to resist. Sutton then creates chaos in her apartment, destroying everything around him. Terrified, Julie calls Kyle for help before falling asleep. At the same time, Kyle realizes that his friend is a true maniac, obsessed with Julie for years. Rushing to Julie's place, Kyle arrives too late and sees Sutton leaving with the tomb in his pickup truck. Kyle guesses where his friend is headed and hurries to follow him. Gaining some time, Sutton ties up the half-naked girl and promises to show her the powers of the unusual tomb. Julie tries to fight back and strike Sutton in the face, but he is unfazed, as her body no longer matters to him. It only holds him back from unleashing his true power, which he gained thanks to the tomb. As soon as Kyle arrives at the building, Sutton decides to hide the tomb on the roof of a sports club. Taking advantage of his new abilities, Sutton enters the spirit world and meets Kyle. He has learned to physically affect objects, allowing him to strike Kyle and trap him. Returning to Julie, Sutton decides to have a little fun, but before that, he tortures her with a lit candle to make her scream. Kyle finds a way to break out of the trap by crawling through the ventilation system. Realizing where the tomb is hidden, he rushes to the roof, but he comes face to face with death. Unafraid of losing his life, Kyle walks through Von Tristan's spirit and extracts Sutton from the tomb to stop his sinister plans. Kyle douses the tomb with gasoline, intent on burning it, but Sutton lunges at him with fists. In the ensuing fight, Kyle finds himself weaker but more cunning, eventually gaining control of the weapon. Not wanting to shoot his friend, Kyle fires a bullet into the tomb, sparking a fire. Enraged, Sutton tries to throw Kyle off the roof, but Kyle clings to the edge of a protruding wall. It seems like the end, and he's about to fall, but Julie, freed from her restraints, shoots Sutton in the neck and shoulder. Taking advantage of the distraction, Kyle climbs back up and attacks Sutton again. During the struggle, Sutton falls to his death. His spirit is released, and for a brief moment, Sutton rejoices. However, death arrives and takes his soul to hell. The tomb burns completely, and no one will be able to use it again. After collecting the remains of the mechanism, Kyle heads home. Along the way, he notices that the police have arrested Marcus and his accomplice. Later, Kyle decides to meet with the old woman to tell her she was right. Standing at the doorstep of her house, Kyle realizes the elderly woman is a spirit, cursed and trapped in this world. Now her mission is complete, and her soul is free, but Kyle must continue to protect the secret of the spirit machine. He will see death for the rest of his life, but he's ready to accept this, as long as no one else has to suffer. The tomb offers incredible possibilities, but the cost is far too steep. Is it truly worth using such technology if it upends the natural balance of life and death? Let us know what you think in the comments, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.